Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you today? And welcome to From Recovery to Remission. Each day we come in, or I come in, and share information with you to help bring new life into the trauma recovery so that you can move from recovery to remission. This morning, before we go down that road, I just want to say thank you for joining in this morning, and if you're here, say g'day. It's always good to be able to connect and catch up and help you with any questions you may have. Now this morning, I want to talk to you about the 8 dysfunctional rules that we can come out of our family with. But as we go through them, I want you to think about it from 2 perspectives. Not just the perspective of, oh yes, I can recognise that, because that's good, okay, because we don't want to be continuing on, rules that are unhealthy, but we also want to be able to be honest enough to say, oh, I can see where I have carried that on, and then I can go about changing it. I don't want those restrictions in my life or for my kids, because a lot of them are unhealthy communication techniques that have been passed down for a lot of generations. Okay, let's grab our infographic so that we can keep track and I don't go off track and get out of order. I tend to get a bit excited and go, Okay, so number 1, control. So we're taught, the rule in our family is that we have to control our emotions, control our behaviour, control our relationships. And it's fear-based. So it's not the normal, morning beautiful, it's not the normal, self-discipline, self-control. This is the control that we extend outside of us. So we get taught in our family that unless we're controlling others or controlling the environment, then we can't be part of the family if we're not like them. Okay, so we have to look at that, and we do take that into parenthood, and it's something that we have to choose to consciously change along the way. Okay, and it can be done. Perfectionism. If you have complex PTSD, there's no doubt about it. We come out of our families with perfectionism because it comes along with a belief that I have to keep myself safe. If I'm perfect, I'm safe. There's another belief that if I'm perfect, I'll be approved of, I will be loved, and on the list can go. So we can recognise that. But then we transform it into, am I trying to have everybody around me look perfect instead of engaging in the mess of life? And it is messy. Oh my goodness, it's messy. But it's in the mess is when we create a deeper connection and a willingness to go forward in life with people who are also willing to embrace the mess and go, okay, let's get our heads together and work out a solution around this. Oh, sorry, hay fever this morning. Okay, perfectionism was definitely something that I've had to outgrow. That's a good way of putting it, outgrow, because I had a belief, and I look back decades ago, and I had a belief that I couldn't talk unless I knew what I was saying was right. So how can you grow and engage in conversation if we're not prepared to go, well, I don't know if I'm right or wrong, it doesn't matter, let's just engage in the conversation and be curious and create new solutions. And the best thing is when we do this with our kids from when they're young to now, my kids are adults, it then becomes like a second breath in our life where we can go, oh wow, I can still learn more. It's a really great feeling, actually. I do this with my kids, 3 different ones, in various ways, and it's very encouraging on both sides. One of the rules in our family is denial. So we have to deny our own feelings, our own thoughts, our own perceptions, our desires. We have to deny our imagination. Some of the things that can come with that are you've been told that you have to deny the dreams that you have, all right? Some of the things that have happened in my life around this area are just crazy, but I think the most predominant one that we need to address as adults with complex trauma is perception, because when we're triggered, our perception actually goes offline. So what we want to do is, as in our brain goes offline, we get triggered and we can't make sense of our emotions because the prefrontal cortex isn't engaged. So what we want to do is make sure that when we're making decisions, that we're not hungry, angry, lonely, tired, like being online at night and making shopping decisions when you're tired. I ban myself from that. But we want to make sure that our perception is a healthy one. Now, recently, I did something that I've never done before in my life, and I actually took a personal situation where I was told, I said to somebody, "You've lied to me." And they said, "No, I haven't. I didn't set out intentionally not to tell you." And I'm like, is that just squirreled with my head or what? So what I did was I went to my pastor and his wife, who are just wonderful people, and I sat with them and I said, "Look, these are things that have happened. I need to know if I'm going nuts or not." I wanted to know if my perception was a healthy one. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about, is this healthy? Am I seeing this right? We've got to want to know if what we know is healthy or not, especially when we've come from dysfunctional and toxic families who've told us for many years that we're wrong, okay? And listen, this comes back to subtle messages as well that are unspoken. So remember, this is when you walk into a room and you can tell someone's angry and they don't have to say a word. Well, it's the same with this as well. My family gave off a lot of vibes of, "No, you're wrong." And sometimes they were outright, "Well, no, you're wrong." So in order to stand up and stand in our strength, we've got to have our perception on track. We've got to seek outside information from people that we trust, all right? And it does take a long time to trust. And that's a good thing, all right? I used to just trust everybody until one day my daughter said to me, wise soul that she is at 22, "Mum, you don't just trust people from the get-go." And I'm like, "You don't?" We have to learn this stuff, that trust is earned. Oh, I'm going off track. I'll go down the whole other track. Okay, so we've had to live in denial of how we feel, what we want, how we see life. One of the most basic concepts of this for me was I knew that it was expected that I leave home, get a job, get married, have kids, the whole white picket fence, and then I would be white picket fence, and then I would be approved of, like I've done good, okay? And that's okay. There's so much more to life, okay? And that didn't make me happy. And I can now say I'm happily single. And that's not a reflection on marriage at all. It's just that I'm happy. I'm happy with my life. And I know now that the white picket fence scenario for me is not a happy zone because I want to pursue my work, okay? So we have to be willing to sit back and go, what do I want to build into my life that makes me happy, as opposed to what I knew would bring approval from my family. And look, back then, we're talking a few decades ago now, there wasn't the internet, for goodness sake. There wasn't a lot of stuff. So we're allowed to rebuild our lives into a shape and form that doesn't involve the rule of denial, okay? And yeah, our families get uncomfortable with it, but we're here for one life. I personally want to be able to leave a legacy that goes on, not not approval by people that haven't stretched themselves, and that's okay. Both sides are okay. We come out with the don't talk rule, okay? And my family were brilliant at this. My grandmother turned up. She was actually visiting family 2 minutes down the road from me one time. She'd been there 3 weeks. This is a grandmother that I loved. She's deceased now. Loved and adored, that even as an adult I would take, a week's holiday, go and visit her and my pop, whom I loved. And for her to be down the road, 2 minutes down the road for 3 weeks and not tell me was just heart-wrenching, devastating. But I said to her, can I come and see you? And she said, as long as we don't talk about this. Okay? So the rule in the family is as long as you don't rock the boat, then we can sit and chat. Okay? And that hit me like a freight train at the time. I was like, oh my goodness, I'm supposed to live in planet denial of what's happened instead of having an adult conversation about how we can go about making this a more healthy relationship. Okay, can you see in your family where the don't talk rule applied to you? And then how do you want to transform that? How do you want to break free and have the hard conversations? Family myths. Oh, they're a joy. I'm being sarcastic. Okay, so family myths are created around what we have to show the world. Oh, everything's fine. Planet denial. But family myths get passed down as well. Like, this is who the Bakers are, and this is how we do life, and, in our family, no correspondence is entered into. I'm trying to think of one of our family myths, but it's just gone straight off my brain. But a lot of these dysfunctions are actually interwoven as well. We've had so many fractures and divorce for generations in our family. But I want you to look at something in your life where the family says, well, that's just how we are. Okay? That's just how the Smith family is. See if it's a myth. Now, a myth, we can go, well, that's not the truth. That's not healthy, and we need to look at doing this in a more healthy way. Okay? Next, blame. If you've experienced and have complex trauma, blame is something that we come out of childhood with. We blame ourselves for everything. And how you can recognise this is you have a big dose of apology. You've got this big apology chip in, because I've had to train myself out of it as well. I can say that. And I apologised. I said I'm sorry for everything, like just everything. And it wasn't until my friend started saying to me, that's not your fault. Why are you apologising? And I had to really sit back and realise that it was like automatic pilot to say, I'm sorry because it's my fault. It's just my fault. Let's just go there straight away. And it's not healthy. Not healthy for us, and we're not teaching our kids a healthy way around life either. We're not saying, okay, there's something wrong. Do we need to talk about it? What do we need to change? How can we go about this in a more productive way? Incompletion. When incompletion happens in our families, we find ourselves continually on repeat and upset. We find we have no closure. So if anyone in Australia was watching Maths this week, the final episode, then you'll see and totally understand about the word closure, especially around relationships. One of the girls was being gaslighted by one of the guys who didn't even turn up for the last episode to be accountable, and then, made out that she was the crazy one. And then another girl came and sat beside her and said, this is what he did to me too. And everyone was able to start seeing through his actions that, they were telling the truth. She got closure. In our families, we come away from a visit with our families and we go, oh my goodness, I feel like this is happening, this is upsetting, how am I going to manage this? And we feel like we can't get closure because our families don't want to have these discussions with us. They don't want to be accountable and they don't want to grow as people. We can honour that they don't want to grow as people, but it means that we want to break the rule and we want to have those conversations with our friends, with our children. We want to have the hard conversations so that we can turn it around as well. And one of the things that my adult kids have with me is that they can come to me and say, Mum, I can see that happening with you, and if I'm on repeat about something, I absolutely will do something to change it or have the hard conversations, because there's always 20% of us that we can't see. So it's really good to get feedback from safe people, okay? People that we trust, not people who have their own agendas and want us to change. Okay, unreliability. We come out of our families, the dysfunction and the toxicity and the adverse childhood experiences, okay, believing that we can't trust anyone. We trust no one, and that drives our actions and keeps everybody at a distance. Whereas our internal dial is to be fully known and fully accepted. That's what we desire in life. Somebody in our life or people in our life that can fully know us and fully accept us, warts and all. Alright? But when our family tells us by implication or by action that we can't trust anyone, and trying to keep the disappointment at bay, well, it's just a lie. Because if we don't let other people into our life, we're going to be disappointed anyhow. Good morning, beautiful. It's lovely to see you. So why buy into the lie? Start trusting where it's earned, where people are showing you that they have integrity, right? That their word is truth. Right? They're not lying to you. They're not trying to take you down a path where you're going to end up disappointed and hurt. And it's worth it. It absolutely is worth it. Work with a therapist or work with a trauma coach, but work to rebuild what's happening inside of you in order that when you do trust, it is with people that absolutely are trustworthy. Okay, remember what I said at the beginning. This is not just about paying out on our families and saying, well, I can see that happened and woe is them. It's about saying, I can see that happened. Where or is this happening in my life? And how can I transform it around into a healthy conversation with the people around me? Okay? If you have any questions or comments, please feel welcome to leave them down below. We're moving from recovery to remission, and we do this hard work together. Have a wonderful day or a beautiful evening in the Northern Hemisphere, and I will see you again tomorrow morning. Bye for now.